What's up everyone, welcome back to another Day by Daylight video. Today I want to cover a developer update. I actually never done this before, so it should be kind of interesting. So let's get right into it. So there's a lot of different tweaks and reworks, like usual. Alright, the first one is the finisher Mori. It's the major update. The killer can now perform a Mori on the final survivor without an offering. Objects obstructing the camera during the Mori animation will fade away. Oh my gosh, we've been asking for this since the game first came out. The Memento Mori offering has a new effect. Gain a large blood point bonus when performing a Mori on the final survivor. Alright, so usually Moris, they don't really grant you much of anything compared to a hook. But now that's going to change. You're actually going to get some blood points for it. Dev Note. When the finisher Mori system was tested previously, many found it and the surrounding gameplay changes to have too large an effect on the match. We have scaled back this system to better suit what players expected from it. Killers now have the option to kill the final survivor if they so choose. This will provide some visual flair and create a satisfying end to a match. Good. Since this change would make Memento Mori offerings obsolete, we have reworked them to instead reward the killer with a large amount of blood points based on the rarity when the Mori is performed. We have also added a new mechanic which hides nearby objects when a Mori is happening to prevent rocks, crates, and other things from rudely standing in the way so you can see these kills in all their glory. Alright, so Mori offerings are going to be obsolete. So, what, can you only Mori the last survivor? It doesn't say that, but I'm wondering why they say that it's obsolete now. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure if I read that right. It says the final survivor, so I'm a little curious about that. Alright, teamwork, power of two. All these perks I haven't really used at all, so I actually went into the game and played them, see how I got any use out of them. And since I only played solo queue, this one I didn't really get much out of it. So yeah, you get some haste. This effect will linger for a few seconds when out of range. Re-entering this range before the linger time expires will maintain the effects. Alright, so the range is going to be a little bit bigger. It doesn't have a cooldown. And no longer deactivates when either survivor loses a health state. Alright, so yeah, it's gonna be a little bit nice. Dev Notes. The perk grants a speed boost to both survivors after healing, as long as they stick together. This alone is pretty conditional, so I've removed the cooldown entirely and removed the added deactivation clause to simplify the perk and make it feel better to use. We also increased the range slightly to make it a little easier to maintain. Alright, so I don't know, it's a perk I never really used, but now that there's no cooldown, it lingers a little bit, maybe you get some use out of it. But yeah, it's just a little extra haste to get away. Nothing too crazy. Alright, teamwork, collective stealth. This affects this one, I think it's a stealth perk, yeah. It hides your scratch marks. This effect will linger for a few seconds when out of range. Re-entering this range before the linger time expires will maintain the effect and increase the range. Did that before with the other perk. Remove the cooldown. Wow, that was a massive cooldown before. No wonder no one used it. No longer deactivates when either survivor loses a health state. We have given a similar treatment to Teamwork, Collective Stealth. Healing and staying near each other is already quite the demand, so we have removed the unnecessary cooldown for health state conditions, and the range will match the other Teamwork perk for consistency. So, sure, whatever. Will this perk be any useful? Who knows? I hardly ever use it. Corrective Action. Now this is definitely a useless perk. Now applies to survivors within 8 meters was cooperating on the same action. Prevented failed skill checks now become great skill checks was good skill checks. Dev Note. Corrective Action previously only prevented progress loss from other survivors' missed skill checks. This could be great when playing with a new friend, but not useful for more experienced players. We have changed the result to a great skill check to provide a marginal progress boost when the perk activates, giving it some value in higher end matches. It should count for yourself. Right now, from my understanding, it only counts for other people, not for yourself, which doesn't make any sense. Let's say your internet connection sucks. You know, a lot of people are struggling with that, with the game being just a little bit more demanding, and maybe your PC is not really running as well as it used to. Who knows? And those skill checks are flying by and you can't hit them. This should be able to help you out with that. I don't know why it's not being changed to do that, but it's not. Alright, Inner Focus. Increase aura reading duration to 6, 8, and 10 seconds was 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it didn't last very long, but now it will. Remove the range requirement. Alright, so basically if a survivor gets hit, you're going to see the killer's aura anytime they get hit. And there's no range requirement, so no matter what happens, you're going to see the killer every single time they get hit. That's a big buff. This perk previously required you to be within 32 meters of the survivor who loses a health state, meaning you would often know where the killer is anyways. We have removed this condition. This will make Inner Focus a useful tool for keeping track of the survivor whereabouts regardless of where they are in the map. That's a lot of information. That's insane. This is probably even better than Object of Obsession, because the killer's not going to be able to see you, but you're going to be able to track them all the time. Wow. We're going to live forever. This is such a weird one. Increase the healing speed bonus to 150% was 100. Dev Note. Survivors aren't left in the dying state often, so we want to make sure this perk is effective when the situation arises. Endurance effect no longer needs to be activated. Added a 30-second cooldown to the endurance effect. Yeah, there's just so much in the description, so it looks like they tried to simplify it a little bit, increase the healing, which is kind of nice. I hardly ever get any use out of this. The endurance aspect of the perk made the perk overly complicated to make use of. Yeah, so see. So we have replaced this with a cooldown instead. This cooldown only applies to the endurance effect, not the healing speed increase. Okay. So you can't use it on multiple survivors. Let's say the killer is slugging a lot of people and you try to heal them all. It's only going to give endurance to one person. Okay. Poised. When you first start repairing a generator, see the killer's aura for 6 seconds. Increase the duration to 10, 12, and 14 seconds was 6, 8, 10. Alright, so that's interesting. So this is the one when you finish a generator, it hides your scratch marks. But now when you first start a generator, you're going to see the killer's aura for 6 seconds. That's nice. So it's only going to happen when you first start, not multiple starts. And so you'll see the killer's aura, and you might figure, hey, the killer's in the area, why should I work on this gen? Dev Note, to make Poise more appealing, we're introducing a new effect in addition to the original one. When you first start repairing generator, you'll see the killer's aura. This will keep tabs on where they are throughout the match. We've also increased the duration of the original effect to help you cover more ground without leaving tracks. Alright, so that might be really tough to counter as a killer. If the survivor starts on a gen and sees you coming towards them, they might just get off. Especially a counter against Lethal Pursuer. Blood Rush. Blood Rush now activates for 40, 50, 60 seconds after being unhooked. Previously activated permanently when you're 1 hook away from death. Alright, so anytime you're unhooked, you can use it. Does that mean you need to be healed? Okay, let's read. Blood Rush now deactivates upon performing a conspicuous action. Okay. Kind of like Decisive Strike. If you touch a gen or do anything, it's going to deactivate. Blood Rush now deactivates when the exit gates are powered. Yikes. Removed. Blood Rush no longer heals or provides the broken status effect. Okay, so you don't have to be healed to use it. This perk had a lot of effects and an equally strict set of conditions. We have simplified it to focus on the exhaustion recovery, which tended to be the main aspect for the perk. To allow this effect to happen more often, Blood Rush now activates for a set of duration after you are unhooked. Killers will want to be careful not to chase Blood Rush users after you are unhooked, since they will be harder to catch. This effect will be disabled if the survivor performs a conspicuous action or if the exit gates are powered. I don't like the whole exit gates are powered, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, you don't want survivors to be way too overpowered, but at the same time, I don't know, just having your perk disabled over all these different actions makes it a little frustrating to use, I would say. But, could be really strong against killers. So I'll have to wait and see how useful this will be. Alright, Quick Gambit. Used to be pretty terrible, let's see. When chased, see the auras of other survivors. Quick Gambit now has a 60-second cooldown upon losing a health state. Yeah, I don't know about that. Reduce repair speed bonus to 3, 4, 5 was 6, 7, 8, so why use it? Why use it? I don't get it. Removed. Repair speed bonus no longer has a limited range. What does that mean? So what, can you use it all the time, no matter where you are? Alright, Quick Gambit previously required survivors to lead the killer towards the generator in order to get any benefit. This was very risky and often resulted in the killer chasing those survivors instead. This perk no longer has a range requirement and now shows the aura of other survivors, so you can do the opposite, keep the killer away from them. To balance this out, Quick Gambit will now have a cooldown upon losing a health state, making it more challenging to keep active and provide the killer a way to play around it. Wow, okay, so 60-second cooldown. If you can keep a chase going for a very long time, let's say someone like Aaron, you can have a very long speed bonus for the whole team. That's everybody on the map. It's going to have 5%. That's insane. So yeah, it's going to be great for survivors who are really good at looping. Distortion Rework. Distortion no longer has tokens, instead deactivates once used until the next time you are chased. Change. Increased duration to 8, 10, 12 seconds was 6, 8, 10 seconds. So no tokens. Let's read the dev note. Distortion counters a lot of perks and add-ons. Yeah, that's a good thing. The token system and recharge mechanic makes Distortion far too effective and allows survivors to go unseen for the entire match. To limit its effectiveness, we have removed the token system and made it so Distortion only reactivates upon being chased. We have extended the duration slightly to help account for longer aura reading effects to compensate. Alright, so doesn't matter if you have Lethal Pursuer, you're going to block that whole aura reading from killers now. So you can't stack it. I don't know what I think about this. I know a lot of people don't like Distortion right now. They think it's way too overpowered, making it so other survivors get focused out of the game and they die quicker. So this is kind of a change to fix that. I always thought, not a lot of people use Distortion, and since it's going to be weaker, maybe they won't use it at all. I don't know, some people will love this. I don't know what I think about this. I think it's a great perk. It counters auras, and all killers basically use auras most of the time. So yeah, we're kind of losing the strength of this perk for a reason, and I don't always agree with it. Anyways, next one. Lucky Star. Change. Now suppresses grunts of pain and pulls of blood as long as you are in the locker. This effect lingers for 30 seconds after exiting the locker, was 10 seconds after entering. Wow, that's really good. Because it only lasted 10 seconds, and if it expired and the killer was in the area, then they're just going to hear you anyways. Dev Note. Lucky Star short duration often meant it would wear off before the killer left the area. Yeah. It will now stay active as long as you are in the locker and linger for a set duration after you leave. So yeah, basically my point. It didn't last very long. Alright, so that's all the survivor perks that are being changed. Now for the killer perks. Alright, so we got genetic limits. The rework, anytime a survivor loses a health state, they suffer from the exhaustion for 6, 7, and 8 seconds. Genetic limit previously affected survivors who healed, which often led to the exhausted effect expiring before they could be chased. That's true. It will now apply to survivors who lose a health state instead, but with a shorter duration. This will provide more consistent value. Those skilled survivors may be able to outlast the effect. If you have like Dead Heart or something like that and you're trying to use it, you're not going to be able to use it for 8 seconds. But if you can outlast a killer, you'll be just fine. Alright, we got leverage. When the survivor performs an unhook, their healing speed is reduced by 30, 40, and 50% for 30 seconds. Leverage used to gain strength as the match went on. This made leverage ineffective early on, often only becoming effective when the match was nearly won anyway. We have reworked it to be much simpler and provide a consistent value. Leverage now discourages survivors from healing directly under the hook. Alright, so for this perk, it's going to discourage survivors from healing under the hook, which may or may not backfire on the killer. If the survivor decides to wait it out and repair a generator instead, that might not be good, but at the same time, If you're the Oni, this might be a great thing. They might be bleeding a little bit longer and you'll get more blood orbs. So, I'd be a little careful when using this perk. Thak. Thak now starts with 3 tokens. Gain 1 token upon hooking a survivor. When breaking a pallet or breakable wall, consume 1 token and causes survivor within 24 meters to scream. Reveal their location for 3, 4, or 5 seconds. Alright, the Dev Note. Thak used to only activate once per hook, leading to it often being wasted. By introducing tokens, killers can store these uses for later. Potentially use it more than once in a chase. Alright, this is going to be a great counter to anyone who decides to flashlight under a pallet. So I'll be able to counter it. Alright, machine learning. Change. The most recently damaged generator becomes compromised. Dev Note. Machine learning previously required you to damage 1 generator to activate it, then another to compromise it. This made it awkward to use. To simplify this, the most recently damaged generator will always be compromised. Only 1 generator can be compromised at a time. Alright, that's interesting. So if you choose the wrong generator, you're kind of screwed, right? As a killer. And you can't compromise any other generators. And if the survivors just let it regress, you're kind of just screwed. Deathbound. Deathbound no longer has a distance requirement to activate. Deathbound no longer has a duration and instead deactivates when the healer is hooked. Alright, so it used to be 60 seconds. That's what I remember. So I guess they're just going to scream no matter where they are after they heal. So they don't have to, okay, whatever. The perk range condition made it inconsistent to use. Simplify it and give it a nice boost in strength. We have removed both the range requirement and the duration. Okay, I guess that's good. I don't know. It's not a perk I use too much. I was just using it, and even though these changes don't really mean too much to me, they're going to be pretty far away if they're going to heal, unless they're healing under the hook, and then they didn't move anywhere. Alright, Zanchin Tactics. Rework. When a survivor is within 6 meters of a drop pallet, within 60 meters of your location, okay, so you have to be really close, their aura is revealed for 6, 8, 10 seconds. Alright, that's kind of nice. We actually have some use out of the perk. Maybe not the greatest use, but something. Dev Note. Revealing pallets and windows was much less useful for killers and survivors since the killer is present every time a pallet is broken. We have reworked this perk to instead reveal the survivor's aura near dropped pallets. This will provide some useful info during a chase and allow for some interesting mind games. Alright. Usually you only want to mind game certain areas, but this might actually be very useful. You obviously don't want to mind game where the survivors can see you, so it's going to be in a place where you can't see the survivor, but you'll be able to see their aura. Dead Man Switch. Now applies only to the first survivor who stops repairing a generator, so it can only happen one time. Alright. Increased duration to 40, 45, and 50 seconds was 20, 25, 30 seconds. Oh, that's a long time. Dead Man Switch provides a very powerful effect, but can sometimes get out of hand when combined with other perks. We have changed it to activate only on the first survivor who stops repairing to limit how powerful it could be, and increase its duration to compensate. Okay. That's still going to be a very, very long time. Blood Echo. Blood Echo no longer has a cooldown. Okay. Reduced duration to 20, 25, and 30 seconds. Okay, not very long. Blood Echo previously had a cooldown. This felt unnecessary since the requirement of hooking a survivor itself spaced out its activation. This has been removed, allowing the perk to activate more frequently and reduce the duration slightly to compensate. But the thing is, you can cause mangled to last for 60 seconds with most perks. So this is like a baby mangled. It's not going to do much. It's only 30 seconds, and a survivor could just wait it out. I know killers like the Oni might use it, but it's not going to give you as much benefit as it used to. At least it doesn't have a cooldown, so that's good. Hex Crowd Control. I actually love this perk. Rework. The last 3, 4, 5 volts, which survivors rush volt, are blocked by the entity. This lasts until the Hex Totem is cleansed. Alright, that's a terrible change. I don't know why they did this. Anytime you bring a Hex Totem, it needs to be kind of overpowered. You know, it used to work for every volt, and now it's only going to work for 5 volts. Which is nice. It's still a lot of volts, but still, it's like, you're bringing a perk that's going to be disabled once it's cleansed. And so, I always think it needs to be big reward versus the big risk of bringing this perk, because it's a big risk. You're going to have only 3 perks once they find it. Dev Note. In a vault heavy area, it was possible for survivors to outlast the effect by linking together multiple windows. Going forward, the most recently vaulted windows will be blocked until the hex is cleansed. Oh, so they're permanently blocked, are they? Wait. It sounds like they're permanently blocked. Okay, that makes it kind of stronger. I actually think it might be good. Because it's a hex perk, it might... I'll give it a try. It'll be interesting to see how this actually works in the game. Predator. When a survivor escapes a chase, reveal their aura for 6 seconds. This perk then goes on cooldown for 60, 50, 40 seconds. Oh, that's a big cooldown. I never like perks that go on cooldown for 60 seconds. That's a big letdown. And only for 6 seconds to reveal their aura. So if you mess up and you lose a survivor, then you get a benefit. The thing is, if you lose a survivor, you should go for someone else. You shouldn't be chasing that person because they're probably really good. Dev Note. Predator has always caused mixed feelings. Some feel like tighter scratch marks make tracking easier, while others find it makes finding survivors harder. We have given this a new effect, which will be more useful for all. Yes, that's kind of true, that scratch marks, because they're so condensed, sometimes it did mess me up. Those struggling to keep track of survivors will find Predator handy for giving them a second chance. Meanwhile, more experienced players may find some use by intentionally breaking chase. Maybe so you can keep on chasing him all game long. I don't know. I don't really like this change to Predator. I mean, it wasn't useful before, and I don't think it'll be useful after. Skull Merchant. Decrease the hindered penalty when scanned by a drone to 5% was 10. Okay. The Skull Merchant no longer gains haste when scanning a survivor. Dev Notes. These two effects combine to create a huge speed difference between the killers and survivors. We have removed one and toned the other down to be fair. Okay, I kind of agree with this. It seemed like you just couldn't get to the next pallet and she was just really fast. But I understand that people who love a speed build with Skull Merchant are not going to be happy with this. Change. Reduce number of drone scan lines to 1 was 2. Drones are now always in their active state. Drone scan lines are now invisible beyond 16 meters. Alright, let's read the dev note. Being unable to see drone scan lines made them very difficult to play around accordingly. Scan lines will now always be visible when nearby and invisible when out of range. Additionally, we have reduced the number of scan lines per drone to allow for more counterplay. So yeah, there was like two, I think I understand this correctly. There are two lines opposite of each other. Now there's only going to be one line, kind of like one hand of a clock instead of two hands. And so if you get hit by that, it's going to be the same. You're going to get exposed if you stay in there. So yeah, she's not going to have that haste. I know some people will not like that change. I understand why it was done. She'll still be oblivious and some of the other effects that she has. I don't know. Will this make Skull Merchant bearable to survivors? We'll see what happens. Hillbilly. Decreased time before overstart starts to dissipate to 8 seconds, what was 15. Alright, so overdrive is not going to last as long as it used to. Decreased overdrive movement speed to 11.5. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It might be a little bit more bearable as Hillbillies to be able to steer more, since it's not going to be as fast. Decreased overdrive charges gain while revving and sprinting to 1.5 was 2 seconds. Increased chainsaw missed attack cooldown to 2.7 seconds was 2.5 seconds. It's definitely a debuff, a nerf. Let's see what the devs have to say. It's been great seeing the Hillbilly rise in popularity. Now that he's had some time to settle, we've identified a few aspects of his new overdrive mechanic that could use some fine-tuning. Overdrive tended to kick in very frequently, staying active for a large portion of the match. These changes will make the overdrive mechanic a little less common and provide less of a speed boost when it is active. We've also increased the missed attack cooldown slightly to make it harder to follow up missed chainsaws with a basic attack. I think this is a great change, to be honest. I've been a Hillbilly main before I was even playing Pyramid Head and everyone else. I think they just overdid it with the buffs. And now that they're nerfing them, I think that's a good idea. We'll see how much of a nerf it is. Hopefully he's still enjoyable. I think he will be. And hopefully it brings back Drift King Billy. That would be a great thing. Since it won't be as fast as it used to be. Maybe you can drift just a little bit easier. Alright, the twins. Minor update. Increased Victor's cooldown when crushed to 20 seconds was 15 seconds. Alright, so it's going to be a little bit longer. Increased cooldown after Victor downs a survivor to 3.2 seconds was 2.7. Why? It already takes a long time for Charlotte to get to the survivor. And maybe another survivor will kick Victor. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe. I'm not sure. There's some healing perks that they can heal before you can get back to where Victor is down as a survivor. So let's say everyone has a healing build or something like that. And they're on the ground. And that cooldown, they kick Victor, so he can't guard the survivor, and then they heal up before you get there. That's my only concern. Alright, let's read the dev notes. Following their update earlier this year, the twins saw a sharp increase in lethality. To keep them in check, have slightly increased how long it takes for Victor to recover after downing a survivor. We have also slightly increased how long it takes for Victor to become available after being crushed by a survivor to make it more impactful when a survivor manages to pull it off. Okay. I understand what they're saying. And a lot of people have hated the twins ever since they got buffed. We'll just have to see how the twins play in the game when this releases. Because it could be a detriment to the twins. It really just depends on how survivors play around it. Alright, the unknown. New HUD update to display teleport cooldown and hallucination spawn time. Okay, nice. Movement speed now decreases sooner when charging your power. And I don't like that. Increase teleport recovery speed by 15%. Adjustments to blurry photo and vanishing box add-ons. Okay, I don't know what that means. Improve visual and audio feedback when using UVX. Alright, so there must be something that's like affecting people's vision when using the unknown. Let's see what they say. We tend to revisit killers a few months after they release and see if they need any balance changes. It turns out the unknown is already a pretty good spot and is well liked by players. So that makes our job easy this time around. Tapping the power button can postpone a hallucination from spawning, but to a survivor it appears as if you're about to launch a UVX. This forces survivors to constantly dodge and lose distance without slowing down the killer. We have reduced the window before the killer slows down while charging their power. This will make it harder to tap the power button without slowing down while focusing on a chase. We've noticed that the blurry photo add-on is a fan favorite, so we have incorporated a part of its effect into the base kit and toned it down to compensate. This will allow more freedom and experience with other add-ons without missing out. We have also toned down the vanishing box add-on, which was the stronger side, by adding a trade-off increase to hallucination spawn time. Okay, that's kind of nice. Lastly, we've improved the VFX and SFX when using UVX. Oh my gosh. This doesn't affect balance, but will make it clear to new unknown players that are hitting survivors with the blast is how to apply weaken and deal damage, not with airborne hits. Okay, that was a lot to read. And I'm not sure what to think of it because I'm not really good with unknown. I don't know what these add-ons do. So I'm going to leave it to you guys to decide whether this is a good change or not. Because I don't know. I don't like that the movement speed now decreases sooner when charging your power. So maybe it's harder to hit survivors with your UVX. That's my main concern. I do like that the teleport speed is faster. That's great. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. Alright, so that's everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys next time.